if you notice, we have a domain probably by the name of training.com is our domain, right? That's what we have. And in this domain, currently we have got one DC, let's call it DC1, right? And we are concerned that what happens when this DC fails, right? In case this DC fails, will my users be able to log in? No, they will not be able to log in. Almost everything in my environment will crash because my first level authentication itself is not there. How do I access my applications or other resources of my network? I cannot. What I can do is, right, I can bring up another computer. I'm looking at some concept known as, probably you can call it high availability, or you can even call it fault tolerance. The meaning of that is I have just one domain controller, right? I want to bring up probably another domain controller so that in case this fails, this one will take over. High availability meaning the user can authenticate either to DC1 or DC2. Fault tolerance means if DC1 fails, DC2 will take over. Okay, so these two DCs will be exact replicas of each other. Okay, so if you create a user over here, that user will be created over here. If you delete it over here, that user will be deleted from here. This is only for Active Directory. This is not for, you say, oh, DC1, I created a folder, then I should see the same folder over here. No, it's all about the Active Directory database and whatever is with Active Directory, and that is the sysvol, right? These are the two main components of Active Directory, isn't it? So that is going to be replicated. The word is replicated. That's what you need to remember. There's going to be a replication. There's going to be a continuous replication. Once you set up this DC2, there's going to be a continuous replication from this DC to this or this DC to this. They'll both replicate the data between each other. And both will be configured in such a way that if one DC fails, you have the other DC to take over. So now that's what we're going to do. We are going to set up an additional domain controller. For that, I will go into Server Manager, a page on Server 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Add Rows and Features. I'm going to click on Next, next to this. And from this screen, I'm going to select one, Active Directory Domain Services. It's the same thing that we did before. We had installed Active Directory Domain Services, and that's what we're going to do, domain controller, additional domain controller. So I click on Next. What you understand now is the Active Directory Domain Services role is installed, right? And then you have this option called Promote the Server to Domain Controller. That's what I need to click on. So I'm going to click on that.
Add a domain controller to an existing domain.
Exactly, no? So that's what we are doing, right? Our domain existing training.com. We already have one domain controller. We're adding another domain controller to that existing another domain. So we're going to say add a domain controller to an existing domain, and it says please specify the name of your domain, and I click on select, and my domain name is training.com administrator. So it's found my domain training.com. Click on OK, done. Click next, and then once again it says it's going to install the DNS server, it's going to install global catalog server. Okay, so here it says I'm not going to make it the read-only domain controller. It says something about okay, what is that option below? It says type directory services restore mode password. Do you know anything about that?
So the day we need to restore it, there'll be a password that you need to put in.
Yeah. So you need to go into a special mode of Active Directory called the DSRM mode. So this is the password to get into that mode. We click on next. We click on next. Okay, it says where do you want to replicate from? Do you want to replicate from any domain controller? Yeah, meaning I just have one domain controller, so I'll select any. Right. Install from media, we're going to do it later. So I click on next, and again it's got the database folder, it's got the log files folder, it's got the sysvol folder. I hope you remember what these folders contain. And click on next, and click on next, and click on install. It will give me some warnings, but we can safely ignore those warnings, and I will click on install. So the machine rebooted right after the processes. And let's see what happened to the machine. We install Active Directory domain services on this, and when we click on tools, we see the same options. And when we click on Active Directory users and computers, again we see training.com on this computer. And do we have any computers in the domain joined to the domain? Yes, we have one computer, but that's fine. And if I click on domain controller, see the difference. Let's see, what do I see in domain controllers? I see that there are two domain controllers, DC1 and server 2. Server 2 is this computer that we just set up now. Who's DC1? DC1 is the old one, right? Now, if you notice, just say if I create an OU inside this, right? I right click new organizational unit, and let's call this test. So we're simply creating an OU out here. When you, as I told, anything that you do on this domain controller will be replicated on this domain controller. So now let's see if it's got replicated. Let me go to, by the way, I hope you should know the shortcut command to open the Active Directory console. It is dsa.active MSC. And I click on OK to this. And here it opens up. Can we see the test OU that I created on server 2? Yeah, you can see that, right? They are both replicas of each other. So if my one domain controller fails, the other domain controller is available.